Hi guys, Adam here again. In the last video, we created a graph that refers to our reference sheet here, where we get a rolling average, which is the line in a metric that we select here in our readiness picker. So if I select duration, it'll change. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to create one of these for our performance picker. And we're also going to align some stuff, make it look semi-decent and organized so that we can start manipulating how we want to view the other items in our dashboard. So ultimately we'll have two graphs, a bunch of metrics to display, and then an organized framework for it. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go back here. Maybe I'll add dates here to make this consistent. And we're pretty much going to copy this framework, paste it below, call it performance OT graph data. So now this is for our performance graph. It's for clarity for us and for potentially anyone looking in this sheet. And we're probably going to want the dates, the day score. That's kind of a weird term. And then maybe the last thing that we'll want is we'll want the all-time best or something. So the first thing that we need to do is, if we notice in this formula, this is probably the most important piece from a date perspective, is we're referring to data viz H19, which is this date. And this is a date that we want to select. So if I change this to 12/25/2017, well, the graph changes because it's going off the reference, but now that'll be 12/25/2017. I'm going to lock this cell in with $signs. Now I'm going to copy it, paste it in the dates row here, and instead of that cell, I'm going to tell it to go to the performance date cell and lock it in with $signs. Okay. So now we have a maximum date for performance. We have a maximum date for readiness that we pick. Now let's deal with the date formula. We were smart in the first time around where we got the maximum date pretty much next to this date in the data set. So that's helpful in that we can use it as a part of this data set too, or for our performance data as well. I'm going to copy it, paste it down, and the reference is changed to refer to this cell, but you don't have to worry about that. One thing that we do have to consider, though, is that we don't want to look at table daily anymore. We want to look at table performance. If we look at table daily and we're using the dates, well, there are a couple options that we have. The first is that we continue to look at table daily, and we make a consideration for only when each metric is greater than 0, which doesn't make sense because you could perform different tests on different days. So the better solution to that is to change the table that we're looking at. So I'm going to change this from table daily to table performance. And we also, just to show you, if I remove the date field, we have a field named the exact same thing. This is probably an important discussion point. If you have multiple tables, I like to keep the names of things identical that are measuring the same thing, so that you can just switch a table name and then everything else will change without having to change the name also of the metric. So I'm just going to change these table dailies to table performance everywhere. And so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to click enter. Now, what this tells me is that this is the most recent date prior to this date that a performance test was done in our performance testing sheet. For DataViz B1, for the name that's in DataViz B1. So this is the latest performance testing date for, relative to this date, for Lisa Simpson. That's what that's telling me. I'm going to copy this formula and just keep on pasting it. And we have a condition that says if it's blank, if a cell is blank, or if this is the minimum date in the data set, then make it blank. So that's why we have all these blanks here. if I change this date to a later date, if I go to my data viz, let me just actually look at my performance testing data. 12/18 looks like the latest date. Maybe if I change it to that here, click enter, go to reference. Now we have our performance testing dates, and we only have 4 of them. Now the next step of this formula, or the next step of creating this graph, is we're going to deal with this monster formula that we created last time to get the readiness score, or the readiness measure that depended on which value from this list, or which item from this list we pick. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to copy this formula, paste it down. Okay. And I'm noticing something, well, an error actually in the formula right now, where this is not too bad of a fix, but pretty much with each of these average ifs, we keep on saying stress here, and we just want to make that align with what this is. So I'm going to change that now so that when we copy it, it'll be fine. I'm just going to change this to sleep quality, and you're just going to change it to the same thing that's in the row there, or in the same row of this formula. I'm going to change this to energy. I see you guys rolling your eyes at me because I forgot I didn't do this. It honestly probably isn't the biggest deal in the world if you don't do this, or if you remove this table daily stress not equal to blank entirely. But it depends on your data set and whether or not blanks can potentially affect aggregations. So you just need to consider that. I'm changing these duration, and now I'm getting into SRPE. And now I'm getting into trap bar deadlift. And now I'm getting into bench press. And then jump height. And then body fat. Now you'll notice, we kind of got to do this a bunch of times. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it, just keep on pasting it, because it'll be wrong. The formula will be wrong holistically. Let me just check this one now too. All right, this one does not. Oh, it does. Oh boy, I have to do it with this one too. The one beneath it, the rolling average one. Sorry guys, I apologize for that. I'm just changing each row. So this says energy, I'm changing this to energy. This says muscle soreness, I'm changing this to muscle soreness. And I'm just doing that holistically throughout these 2 formulae in case I need to copy and paste them somewhere else. It's good to do this stuff. Now I'm on duration. I apologize, it's monotonous and should have done this in the last video. It was an oversight on my end. So now we're on trap bar. Some of the things I'm doing to make this pretty quick is when I start typing in bench, for example, I just click tab and it knows, as long as you have the right one selected. So if I start typing in jump height, I click tab and it fills the rest in for me. And in this one, I want body fat. And I'm gonna do the same thing that I just did with that one and just keep on pasting it in. It's a little thing, but could end up being important, and I don't want to forget about it. So now that formula is pasted to all those cells. I'm going to copy this formula again, paste it down here. Now there aren't actually that many changes that we need to make to it. One big change is that instead of looking at U2, we're going to have to look at U7. U7. Because right now we're looking at this date, and we want to look at this date. So one way to quickly do that is to highlight these cells, find replace, $U$2 with $U$7. If I do that, we made that replacement. Now we're also looking at these C's, the things in the C's, whereas our performance dropdown is utilizing the values in the E's. So if we were to add performance metrics here, we could add them here and not add them here. And we could even remove these performance metrics here if we wanted to, and everything would still work fine. And I'll show you that in a second. But we can just do another find replace with this $C $, $C $, with $E $. Try that. Find replace $C $, with $E $. I'm gonna replace that. And the last big thing that we have to do is change, right now, E2 equals dataviz H21. We're still looking at this drop down here. We want to look at this drop down here, which is H22. Again, what we can do is we can do find replace. Oh, I already have it. Dataviz H21 with dataviz H22. I'm going to do that. And now the last thing that we have to do, I know this is a lot, but what we want to do is we pretty much want to remove a bunch of this stuff, and we just want our performance metrics. So I'm going to remove all this stuff. And now I'm going to change this to our first item in our list, which is trap bar DL, trap bar deadlift. And I'm going to change this to trap bar deadlift. And I'm going to change this from sleep quality to bench press. Change this to bench press. And finally, I'll change jump height to jump height. Oh, actually, in the last one, body fat to body fat. Muscle soreness to body fat. And then I'm going to keep on adding parentheses here until that one turns black. Now it's black. I'm going to click enter. Now I have a formula that captures our performance data. Now I'm going to copy it, paste it, paste it, paste it, maybe paste it, paste it, paste it, paste it. It depends on how many dates we want to show. Might as well paste it across this whole thing, just like readiness, to keep it consistent. But we may only want a graph that shows the past 4 or 5. And to test whether or not this works, what we can do is we can go to our, where is our performance testing data set? I'm going to add in a row for Lisa Simpson. And I'm going to make this, let's say 9/5/2017. Oh no, we're looking at the, I'll add it, let's say 10/25/2017. I hope there's no, all right, so there's no testing on that day. And we'll just put in numbers, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. If I go back to my data or my reference, now we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions anymore. Now we have 5, and the one on 10/25 fits in where it's supposed to, and she lifted 2,000 pounds and something. But okay, it works. I'm going to delete this from our performance testing data set. Now when I go back again, it'll switch back. So we're almost there. The last thing is, well, it depends. If you want an all-time best to be here, then we can do that. If you don't, then that's fine too. And I've been doing a lot of find replacing, but let's do this one by hand. It's good practice, and also sometimes find replace gets buggy. So I'm going to copy and paste this value beneath, and let's go through this formula again, what it means. So if E2, which is that, equals dataviz H22, which is our drop-down selector for these items, if that is true, then we want to get the average of the trap bar deadlift when the person's name in our database is equal to the name in our data visualization dashboard, and the trap bar deadlift is not equal to blank, and the date is equal to this date. But if we care about all-time performance, we don't care about the date anymore, right? So we can remove that. And if we care about the maximum and not the average, then we can change that to max. And these formulas work the same way. So all we have to do now is let's change this. Let's change all these to max ifs. So we want the maximum now, not the average of something, for all these formulae. That's a nice part about average ifs and max ifs, sum ifs. They all work the same way. And we can remove the dates from this stuff because we don't need them anymore. And I'm going to click enter. And I'm going to paste this, paste this, paste this, paste this. It doesn't really matter, but what I'm thinking is our graph will have this all-time max be either a line across or something. But notice this is their maximum value in the data set, 352.8. So now what I'm going to do, let's say that I just want the past 4 sessions as my graph. I'm going to do the same thing I did before where I select these things, insert, I guess if I do the recommended thing again. Yikes, that's not good. I don't want that. Let's just do a bar chart. And then one important thing is this is going by dates. So notice how the bars are really skinny and there are lots of dates in between these sessions, like actual dates. What we can do is if we want these back to back, these sessions back to back, is we can change this from a date axis to a text axis. So right now it's a date axis. That's what we have it automatically selected. It automatically selects date. If we make it text, then we have kind of performances side by side, if that's what you want, or maybe you do want maybe you do want the date axis, and if you did, it would make sense to make both of these lines. I just did undo. I'm gonna do text axis, and I'm gonna change this to be a change series chart type. I'm gonna change this to be a line. So there's a line across the top, and that's their best performance, and I can quickly kind of see how they've done relative to their best performance and when their best performance was, if I'm looking at this chart. And if we added in more data, let's say, I'm going to add a piece of data to 1018. Why not? Let's play around. So if I go to 1018, or I add a piece of data, Lisa Simpson, make her best performances on this date. See what happens here. And I go back to my reference. Now notice we're looking at the last 4. Her best performance occurred earlier than that. And now we have a line that represents that in her past 4, she's not even close to her best performance. And what we can do is we can add labels to this. We can even add a date on this best performance, and we'll do that stuff later. But I'm going to delete this. Oh, not SpongeBob. Lisa. Delete her for now, and then it should go back to what we had. And I'm going to copy this graph, delete it because we don't need it here anymore. I'm going to paste it in our data viz right below our other graph that we have. All right, now we have 2 graphs, cool, that automatically switch. Right now we're looking at bench press. Actually, I'll add data labels right now just to show. So we have bench press. If we change this now to jump height, the graph changed. I don't know if you see the numbers changing. Maybe if we change it to body fat, again, the numbers are changing. It's all fine. For now, we can worry about, I'm just going to delete these grid lines. We can worry about some of the other stuff with these graphs later. And what we can also do now, let's say that we are segregating performance from readiness or in training load. Then what we can do, because we set up our reference list or this in a smart way, is if I remove these items from this list, we go back to our data viz, and I try to select them from the dropdown, they're no longer there. So now we have a segregation. So no one by mistake will select that and be like, oh, what the heck is happening? Okay. So we have 2 different graphs now. I'm going to keep that as is, and I'm going to make this way smaller. And now let's start organizing some things around a little bit. I'm going to move all my filters over here. Right? This is going to be like our filter area, I think. We'll have filters over here, going down. And maybe let's just change some row heights to, I don't know, let's go 20. Let's make them a little bit bigger. Oh, one thing that's important with the charts is I'm going to click on a chart, right click, format chart area. When I go into this, or its size and properties, however you get there, I don't want it to move or size with the cells. That means when I change cell sizes, the chart will change. For now, I just want it to be what it is. So I'm going to click on the other chart. I just did it with this one, where I went to the size and properties and said don't move or size. I'm going to click on this one. Don't move or size. Again, this is personal preference. A lot of this stuff is personal preference. So now let's figure this out. These are going to be filters, right? So let's organize this a little bit differently. I think I'm going to go maybe name, put the name underneath it, date underneath it. Now I'm just dragging. Make sure that you're dragging these things, because if you don't drag them, then your formulas might get messed up. Comparison underneath, past X days underneath. We can just quickly type in a number here so that we know that it's active and working. And then maybe we'll keep these, or maybe the graphs are underneath. So let's go here. Let's go readiness date, rolling average days, and then we'll have the performance stuff. Oh, wait, first we need a readiness picker. So we have readiness picker, readiness date, rolling average days. We have performance date, performance picker. All right, so we have filters on this side. Maybe we say filters. Let's make that, I don't know, 24. That's big enough. And just to give this a little bit of like styling, maybe let's do that. Maybe let's do this. Let's make these gray. And let me unbold everything. I'm going to highlight it. Click. Oops. Highlight these things. Click BB to unbold everything. Move everything to the left. Align it all to the left. Now I'm going to bold the things that we want to change. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm clicking on one cell, holding down Control, and clicking on all the cells that I want to change. I'm going to make them bold. Maybe, I mean, these in general are a little bit 16. And let's actually select everything and just make it 16 size. And then I'm going to select these things. Maybe I'll change the color of them very slightly for now. Just, I don't know. Fine. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's say this is, I mean, this is just a rough area. Let's say performance. Do this. Performance profile. Make it bold. Maybe it's like 24 or something. I don't know. And let's just color it something exciting. Okay, cool. So now let's maybe organize these things a little bit. Maybe we want the picture here, and maybe we have this area is like white or something. I don't really know. And we have their position, hometown, maybe injury status goes next, and then participation in training. This is their participation in training value. You know what? Maybe these are part of the profile. Like it's just a daily kind of profile. So injury status, then their participation in training with their other profile information. And maybe in here we start getting into like readiness stuff. And then we'll start getting into where's SRP? SRP stuff. Then maybe this is some sort of performance, some graph on performance will go here. Then we have readiness items. And here, let's just move these over because I want the performance items to be underneath, kind of where the performance area is at the top. Let's think those like the main KPIs up here, and then underneath it's like more information. So let's move these down. These are their latest values. Maybe this is like kind of like all-time best values up here for performance. And then we have readiness score, SRPE, underneath each of these things. And we may have to maneuver this stuff around a little bit, but let's just keep everything together. I don't know. This has something to do with performance training frequency, maybe. I don't know what it is. I'm going to delete it because it's not relevant to me right now. And RPE, just to make things line up, RPE and duration are kind of in this area, and these things are kind of in this area. And then maybe we'll just make this a little bit longer for now. Okay, so now at least we have like an organization of information. And typically I don't do conditional formatting right away, but why not? You know, let's add a little bit of color to this. We can quickly do injury status. I'm gonna do conditional formatting, new rules, and I'm gonna say format only cells that contain cell val or specific text containing out. And what am I gonna do here? Wait, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do an icon thing, which is in format all cells based on their values. Say icon sets. For some reason, I thought that you could do it based on text, but maybe not. But let's just do a little bit of it. Maybe injury status and participation in training. One thing that I want to do quickly is in our database, actually, is let's add a column in here. Move this over. I'm going to call this injury refined, kind of like we've done in previous, in the Ultimate Team Performance Dashboard. And I'm going to go equals if injury status equals full, then 1 if injury status equals limited, then 2 if injury status equals out, then 3, and if none of those are true, let's just do blank. All right. So now we should see 1s, 2s, and 3s, and just because I'm anal about this stuff, let's just make it a number, but remove the decimals. Okay. Now I'm going to go to our data viz. I'm just going to change this from an index match injury status to an index match injury status. What did I say? Refined. Injury refined. Enter. Oh, she was out this day. That's why I shouldn't participate in training. And that's why SRP is 0. Okay, so now to conditionally format these, you got a bunch of options. First thing that's kind of aggravating me a little bit is I'm going to move all of these, align them to the left. And I'm going to select these 2 cells. No, that doesn't make sense. I should do it differently. But I'll select injury status. Conditional formatting, I want icons. Do icon sets. But I like to do it from here, so I'm doing a new rule. Format cell, all cells that contain their values. Icon sets. First, let's change these to numbers, because we're looking at numbers 1, 2, and 3. And what do we want for icons here? I don't know. We could do this one. We could do I don't know. I get overwhelmed by options. So let's just do these colored circles. You can do whatever you want. So if the number is greater than equal to 3, it is going to be red. If it is greater than equal to 2, it is going to be orange. And if it's not, then it's going to be green. And I can't see that box. I'm going to click OK. Okay. I'm going to copy and paste the formatting down. And then go to conditional formatting, manage rules. Notice it's just applying to this cell. I'm just going to change it slightly and say if it's greater than or equal to 0, it is red. If it's greater than or equal to 1, it is green. I don't even know what to do with this one. I'm going to do black circle if it's less than 0. And I'll click OK. Well, actually, first, I'm going to do this with the other one too. I just want the icon to show up. I'll click that, click Apply. They did not participate in training, so that's why it's red. And if I manage this rule, I'm double-clicking on it, and I'm just going to show icon custom. Oh, I already clicked on that. Show icon only. And click Apply. Now I have an injury status and a participation in training. I'm going to call it training status. I have a little bit of conditional formatting going on here. And I hope this helps. Again, the organization of this, I'll probably change it. I don't know. I'm just throwing something together. This is a very personalized, I guess, design. We have all the information here. We're just going to have to create some charts and graphs with that information, which we will probably, in hindsight, I'll probably end up moving this stuff or recalculating at least it in our reference sheet, and then just having graphs here and text logic and stuff. But we'll get to that later. Thank you for watching. This was a really long video. Good work.